Hi everyone, Alyssa here for AOP Tech on YouTube. Welcome to part two of our Chromebook tips video series. So these are just Chromebook tips that help teachers and students be more productive. So if you haven't seen part one, check that out for 5 more tips. This video will focus on 5, so we have some nice short chunks here that are easy to digest for you and your students. So let's dive in. So as I spoke of in my last video, I have an image of the keyboard here on a Chromebook because a lot of what these tips have to do with are keyboard shortcuts, and you can't see my keyboard. So I wanted to be able to show you where we were here. So one of those first tips that has to do with keyboard shortcut is how to take a screenshot on a Chromebook. I know that it's relatively easy to do on most tablets, but I often get the question of how do I do that on my Chromebook? So what you're going to do is use the control key on your bottom left of your Chromebook keyboard, and you're going to use the overview key, which is on along the top. It looks like a screen with 2 other lines behind it. It helps you tab between windows and screens there. So the combination of those two together takes a screenshot of the whole screen there. You can see it pops up, screenshot taken. So that does the whole screen by default. If you wanted to select just a section, use Control Shift and that overview key. And then you'll get your little cursor so you can select the area that you want to take a screenshot of by nature. So easy way to take screenshots on your Chromebooks. If your Chromebook is really acting up or running slow and you can't figure out why, use the search key, which we talked about in our last video. It looks like the magnifying glass. Select the search key and escape. And what that brings up for you is the task manager. So you can see what might be taking up a lot of your bandwidth or your processing. So that way you can kind of kill things that are maybe running in the background that you didn't know were running in and taking up a lot of that processing. Tip number 3 here. You might not know, but Chromebooks have a built-in photo editor. And what this is great for is for basic editing like cropping or resizing images, enhancing the color without having to pull them into a separate photo editor. So what I did was I went to my files and I got there using my search key. And then if it doesn't pop up as one of the first ones in there, just hit that down arrow so you can get to more of your apps there. So I have the I have the files open here, and I'm going to select a JPEG image. I'm going to select this image from ISTI and open it up. And when it opens, you'll see a little pencil, and that pencil is universal for editing. So this is a very basic editor. You can see there's that pencil right here, and I can select edit. But the other way is just selecting the letter E, no other keys, just the letter E on your keyboard. And that's going to turn it into editing mode. And you can see I can enhance the color here. I can crop it, I can resize it, rotate it, things like that. So it's just a quick fix for you or your students that you need to do a very basic editing without having to drag that image into a separate editor. I'm going to select out of there. Tip number 4 of this video. Sometimes we step away from our Chromebooks, whether it's teachers or students, and we don't want to shut down completely, but we also don't want to leave everything up and running. And there's a quick way to kind of go back to that home key or that lock screen. So that way you'd have to re-log in, but everything is still kind of there for you. So you're going to use that search key again, and you can see that search key is pretty important to a lot of these tools here. So search and the letter L. So search L, you can see it brings it back to the lock screen for you here. When I select it, I just click anywhere on it. I'm prompted to put my password in again. And I'm going to come back to all those tabs. Instead of having to shut down completely, it's a quick way to log out to secure your Chromebook. It might be a best practice for you in your classroom with your students if they're walking away to go use the restroom, or it's your prep period and you have to leave your computer and you just don't want everything up in the open there. So tip Number 5 in this video here. One of the things that used to frustrate me and our team a little bit was that when we downloaded something when we were on our Chromebook, so you're on a website and you want to download a PDF or things like that, it defaults to the hard drive of the Chromebook, which sometimes isn't always the most productive if you put everything into Drive like what I do. So if I go to settings, I can actually redirect where my downloads are saved. And I'm going to do that by going to the advanced settings. And I will say my pro tip is in my drive, in my Google Drive, I've already set up a folder named downloads because you'll see why in just a moment. So I'm going to scroll down in my settings. I'm going to select advanced and I'm going to continue to slow down until I get to downloads. And you can see there's location. So two things that you can do. One, you can enable it so that the Chromebook asks you where you want your file to be saved before downloading. If you just want instead to automatically default it to go save to your drive, you can do that. So you're going to select it, select that location, you're going to hit change. And when it loads, you can select the folder for it to go to. So by default, it goes to this downloads folder, which is on the hard drive of the Chromebook. I have redirected mine to save in my Google Drive. So that way, no matter what device I'm on, I have that. And that's actually why, with my pro tip here, I created a folder named downloads just so it had an easy place to go to instead of it going to the main part of my Google Drive and getting kind of lost in the mess of files that I have. I wanted it to go to a specific folder, so I just set one up named downloads, and then I could reorganize from there when I wanted to. So that's a pro tip there. But now it defaults to saving to my drive versus the hard drive downloads here. So I don't have to go through the extra step of opening it and then saving it to my drive. I eliminate a step and make everything faster for me and work the way I need it to work. And that's a great thing about Chromebooks. So I hope you enjoyed the second 5 YouTube video tips for Chromebook productivity. As always, follow us here on AOP Tech for everything ed tech. And you can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. And feel free to reach out to the AOP Tech team anytime for all of your ed tech needs.